Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritually Speaking. I'm Dee May. I have with us, as usual, Jessica, and this is Klara. Hi, Klara. Thanks for being with us today and tell us all about what you do, and then we'll jump right in.
Yay, thank you for inviting me, Dee, and lovely to meet you, Jessica.
You too.
You both look so happy and radiant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what do I do? I help, or maybe just start a bit with my own story, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
That's, of course, what brought me to what I'm doing here.
Love it.
I used to be teaching a priestess training program from 2004 till 2014, one of the first in the world, and I really loved doing it.
Awesome.
I loved the, how do you say that? The craziness of it, really, the wildness. Everything was open to be explored. We had rituals, naked under the full moon, dancing with a group of women, drumming around the fire, all these beautiful things. But even that, after 10 years, got kind of boring. And I realized it was because another level was calling, and I just wasn't seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt I needed to let it go to find what was calling me. And I knew it was something about taking this work more into the world, but I didn't see yet how. But life helps, right? Life helps when you dare to listen. So I was shown a path, and after a dark night of the soul and just, not knowing and everything, I was guided to the world of high ticket. So selling coaching packages of 5K, 7K, 10K, and more. And I was fascinated by it because I always felt that the work we do as coaches should be rewarded much more. And I was attracted by the online world. So this was all online coaching. I started with it. I started a dating program. And part of me was feeling like, my priestess self, I'm not really being true to her. And another part was like, this is so exciting. And I'm learning so much. So I did that for a few years, actually made millions in it, good money. I served so many women. Soon another one of them is going to be married. It's just lovely, that flow. But after a few years, again, I was like, okay, I've proven to the world and myself that I can do this. I've helped all these women. Now what's the next step? I'm always looking for that. And as I started to question that, I realized that I thought it had been quite a break from the priestess time to the dating time. And I thought that all my success was due to all the strategies that you learn and marketing and, all of that. But I realized actually that wasn't true. That was just a small part of it. And what really made me successful was my priestess heart and skills. Because that was what my clients needed. They didn't need a new strategy. We can all find all the strategies, on internet, or we know them already. Be more vulnerable, be authentic, we all know it. But the problem was, how do I actually do that on a date? And that's where what priestessing is about, in a challenging situation, to really bring the fullness of you.
Yeah.
So that was why my program was so successful. And when it's successful, you attract new clients, and it just keeps going. So I suddenly thought, I was looking all this time, how do I bring together my priestess self and my entrepreneur? And I was always looking outside myself and I couldn't find it. And suddenly it was like, oh, but I should look within. Because I have been doing it. I have been doing it. And then I realized that this was what I wanted to teach to my colleagues. So that is what I'm doing right now, helping coaches be super successful by really opening portals for their clients.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's amazing you brought up about looking inside yourself and allowing yourself to be that authentic person, because we talked about that today a
Mhm.
couple different times, how you need to find that in yourself. And so many of us don't want to do that inner work and allow that authenticity to come through. What do you think it is that holds people back from expressing who they truly are? It seems like such a simple thing, but we're so afraid to do it. Why?
Oh,
Mhm.
well, because it has been dangerous for women for a long time.
Mm,
That's the witch wound, right? The mother wound. We have been punished severely, death, torture,
Yeah.
because of being our authentic selves. So it's not strange that that would be scary. But what is important is to see that that was then,
Mhm.
and it's still, you can be made fun of and everything, but it's not dangerous in that sense anymore. But it's still in our nervous system. And I feel that that is what we really need to see, that our nervous system around being authentic still goes into fight and flight. But
Mhm.
then it becomes impossible, because when you're in fight and flight, there is no space to be really you. It's just, I need to survive.
Mhm. Yeah, that
But
makes
that's a big
sense.
part of what we do. And that's, of course, why so many people are now excited with the whole neurological approach. It's really supporting us where we need it most.
So
Okay.
do you feel like this, because I know we're in this big, huge planetary shift right now. Do you feel like
Yeah.
that's affecting this, or this is affecting that, or maybe it's a combination of the two? How do you feel about that?
As above, so below. As below, so above. I think it's a two-way street. Yeah. We feel the planetary influence, and that's why things like priestess trainings start popping up and becoming more popular. But as we do the work, and that's why things like polyvagal science come up right now, that what polyvagal science really discovered is that we always thought of the nervous system as sympathetic and parasympathetic, and that's kind of like male and feminine, right? Sympathetic, like fight, boom, go for it, save what is yours. And parasympathetic is like, relax and just be here, take care of yourself. But actually, it isn't like that. That is what we thought the feminine was, and that's what we thought parasympathetic was. Now, it turns out there is no parasympathetic. There is a few things that they all bundle together. And then it became kind of diffuse, and it became kind of, I'll just relax. But actually, in the parasympathetic, you have the ventral, which is the creative feminine, you could say, actively, but in a relaxed way, active, intuitive, creative. And there is the dorsal, which is really the going into hiding to survive. And once you start seeing that there is all these sides to the parasympathetic, and there's all these sides to the feminine, right? We're not just, be calm and make the house nice. We're also portal openers. We stand on the frontiers, we do all these different things. That's feminine too.
Mhm.
And once we start seeing that, we can become that. And it's so fascinating, the planetary influence, right? That both on the human level and the gender level, these um, these confusions are being opened up, and also on the scientific neurological level.
Okay, that's awesome. That's interesting.
You have any questions
Yeah,
about that,
it
Jess?
is.
I could see your mind kind of.
No, I'm just like listening and just soaking it all in. This is so
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah,
Taking a little notes too. It's
yeah.
awesome.
I love it that you're so curious, because that's the right approach. If we
Mhm.
come with a mind of, oh, I've seen this, heard this, then you won't hear anything new. But if you
Right.
see, like, but wait a second, what is really being said here? The
Mhm.
feminine is not what we thought that it always was.
No.
Our body is not what we thought it always was. Our brain is not what we thought it always was. And then, all these things that we women have been saying all along, like, I feel nobody hears me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's now I at least get that on a deeper level. It's not just personal. It's like who I really am. I just can't get it across the footlights because there was no language for it.
Yeah.
And in dating, that was a big thing. Looking back, I'm so glad with those years in dating, though it wasn't my primary passion, but I learned so much. And it's a big thing in dating, right? That women say, I cannot attract a man on their level. And they say, nobody really sees me. But it's so hard. And that was where you started, Dee, to really show yourself because you don't really know yourself, right? There
Right.
is so much more to you. And you don't know that that's what you need to be sharing. And that's what I give to my coaches in the portal openers training. And then they include it in their coaching programs. So it's really now a ripple into the world.
Yeah. And it's one that we need really so much because like you said, you always hear about these things that are the rules that you have to follow, like when you're especially when you're getting into coaching world, be
Yeah.
authentic and do it this way and do it that way. And we're like, well, I need to do this, but like, what does it all mean? Like, what does it actually mean to
Yeah.
be authentic? And
Yeah.
it's
And
so
how do I access it in the moment that it matters? Sorry to interrupt,
no,
but
you're fine.
that is so often forgotten. Then we will train being authentic in a safe group of women in a retreat setting, no real life challenges.
Right.
But then you're on dates and you're like, is he going to like me or not? Am I safe or not? All these other things are going on.
Mhm.
And then to access that part of you that is so pure, but also so vulnerable,
Yes.
phew, that's the whole thing. And then you really need to be rooted in your own body, in your own safety, in your own goddess, as I say.
Yeah. And it's kind of you complete me thing when you need to be complete in yourself. So if you feel like you're a complete person and you're enough in your own being, then you
Yeah,
can put yourself out there. And I remember when I was dating and talking to friends about it, one girl in particular that I'm not close to anymore, but she would say, well, it's the game. It's the game. You've got to play the game. And I'm like, I don't want to play a game. I'm in my 40s. That shit is over. That ship has
yeah,
sailed. I don't want to play games. I want to sit down and have an authentic conversation and be honest. And because, I mean, if you're
mhm,
not being honest, then how do you know you can even have a relationship with that person? Maybe you don't
absolutely,
want to,
Yes.
absolutely.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the world is really shifting in that sense. So many women are aware that they don't want to play games, they want to be authentic. And so many men are aware of that too. But then it's really helping them find that space in themselves and see these new parts of themselves.
right?
Often in the first week of my dating program, they would say, like, I feel whole in a way I've never felt whole before. And then you're in business, right? Then you can
Right.
start moving forward. But when you've never felt that,
Right.
how can you be authentic and how can everybody ever see you for who you are?
Right. Yeah.
So it's so much fun. And I see with my coaches that their clients, are getting so much more progress. It just works faster, it works better. One
Mhm.
of my coaches works a lot with trauma clients. She said, now, sometimes I would expect this to take a year, and now it's just 1 month.
Yeah.
It's really a whole different story.
That's amazing. And that's what
That
people
is
want
amazing.
and what they need. We love to have that resolution happen more quickly with things, but it be a lasting effect
Yeah,
instead of just a temporary thing. And
yeah,
I'm all about
yeah,
holistic ways of approaching things. And and getting
Yeah.
those lasting results, not just putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound, because that doesn't work.
Yeah. So true. So true. Yeah. And your own presence is everything as coach. For these sustainable results, your clients need to feel really safe with you and access their own solutions, right? If my intuition as coach is working and I can tell you everything you need to do, that's not going to be sustainable.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'll try that, but then it doesn't work.
Right.
But if I have real presence in which you can open up to your deeper states and you can access your own answers, that will be sustainable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you have a knack for that, because even when we were messaging back and forth the very first time on Messenger, I was like getting goosebumps and I was tearing up, and it was just that energy, I guess, like just being able to like have that energy exchange, and it's so beautiful. And
Yeah.
how do we encourage people to, for our listeners out there, how do we encourage people to allow themselves to feel that? Because I know that we're taught in the society to squash everything down. We don't want to feel, and Jessica and I were just talking about this actually. We don't want to feel the yucky emotions, even though there's no real yucky emotions. It's our perception of it. But we don't want to feel those things that make us uncomfortable. So how do we encourage people to allow themselves to feel those things?
Yeah, great question. That's the key, right? And I think it begins with what you say, really giving that permission and reframing feelings. Feelings are a river that take you somewhere. They are information. Feelings, I sometimes say, is how we gather information, how we process information, and how we communicate information. Through my tears, I tell you something. But through your tears, you started to feel like, hey, what is this Klara about? You're gathering information, right? So it's all of that. But when we think only the brain deals with information, so that's the first thing. But on a deeper level, I feel it is about a total shift of paradigm. And I think that's also the planetary shifts, the Aquarius shift deep down. Instead of seeing individuals, as islands, me, myself, and I, remembering that we are a web of life and we're always in connection, and taking that as the foundation. The whole idea, also in the dating world, it's also so funny that the language is like, I need to be authentic. I need to be this. I need to be that. Actually, none of that matters. Am I able to connect to you in the moment? That is what matters, to connect to you and to myself. So we need to take the connections again as foundation. And how does connection happen? Our words are only a minimal part of it, 1% or 2% or something. Even online, most of our connection happens through, I sometimes call it micro activity, like the mini movements in my face, the micro movements in my face. Yeah, just the beginning of a smile, those things.
Yes.
And those things happen in interaction. We often don't think about it. Unless I'm in fight or flight, then my face just becomes the mask. And I'm not in this exchange anymore. And this exchange through micro movements, responsiveness, I sometimes call it, but we also call it aliveness. How alive does a face look? And when we understand that aliveness is, of course, our secret factor as women, right? When we are really alive in our skin, we are attractive. We attract clients, husbands, everything. But it has everything to do with not just me, myself, and I, but with how am I in interaction. And this is, what the ancient priestesses would say, but it's also what polyvagal science teaches. They say our nervous systems are actually communicating. not just through the brain, but straight.
Mhm.
Especially when we're in that ventral, that feminine state, not when we're in fight and flight. Then the only thing it says is you need to go in fight and flight too. Fascinating.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. So what we can do is give ourselves permission to feel the connection
Mm.
and give our faces permission to express what we feel.
My
That
face has had
is
permission for a long time.
I'm saying.
I call myself a window face because if I'm thinking it, it shows up on my face. I can't, and I can't lie, because if I lied, you'd know like that.
No.
So, not that I want to lie anyway, but I'm just saying it's so interesting that it's, my face talks really loudly. It really does.
Yep.
And so I
And that
can't.
means you probably have a lot of friends, right?
I don't have a lot of friends, but the friends I have are really, really good friends. They're really Jessica and we met when we were in nursing school in what, 2006 to 7. Is that how that went?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's when.
Wow.
And she's still nursing, but I'm not. I had to get out of nursing. I can't, all the things that go on. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast by itself right there. But I'm a really, really strong empath, and that was not the place for me at all. So I had to say goodbye to that one.
But then in
Wow.
nursing, you must have seen this aliveness, right? The people who are close to death and who kind of give up, and you see their face changing, or the people who are maybe on the same edge, but who are still in life. And they're the ones who come back.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I've
I
seen
would
a
see a
lot,
lot
and
of them.
yes, and it was very interesting because I always had like just a knowing. I mean, like I had several experiences where I, would take care of my patients in a certain way, and it would end up with a positive outcome because I saw things that
Yeah.
no one else could see,
Yeah.
in them. And
Yeah.
I even had, my the lady that ended up being my direct supervisor over the whole unit, she even told me, she's like, I don't know how you knew. Like, I don't know how you saw that. And it's not necessarily sometimes a seeing with my eyes
Yeah.
as it is a
Yeah.
seeing with my soul. I mean, I don't know how to explain it other
Yeah.
than.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Thank you for the example, because that's the neuroception. That's those nervous systems communicating.
Mhm.
And it happens when you're open to it, in
Yes.
that ventral state. And it happens when the patient is there. And when she's not just fighting death, but when she's willing to somehow walk with it.
Mhm.
And then this magic can happen.
Yeah.
And it gives goosebumps, right? It's not a rational, oh yeah, that's how we do it.
Right.
It feels like miracles and alive and precious.
Hmm. It does. And I feel like, and Jess, you can tell if you feel the same about this too, because you're still in nursing, but I feel like it's when you, and not just in nursing, but in life as a whole, but when you create that space yourself, like that's why I had the reaction to you that I did and do, because you create that space. And if anybody is looking for that in any kind of way, even if they're not aware of it, they recognize that in you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
share with
Yeah.
you in all of these
Yeah.
beautiful and amazing ways,
Yes.
things that they're not going to tell somebody else that walks in the room, or
Yeah.
react to you in ways that they're not going to react to other people.
Yeah.
And they're going
I
to
get that.
access. Yeah, you go first, Jessica, because I'd love
Oh,
to hear from you too.
I was just gonna say that I get that a lot. As a nurse, I have people who, and it's happened for forever, who will like just tell me their whole life story practically upon meeting me, and they'll even say, "I don't know why I'm telling you all this." But yeah, I think I just create that space where they feel safe to share and open up, and more of a provide more of a um spiritual healing maybe at some point.
Mhm. Yeah.
along with physical.
Right.
And that is so precious, right? Because these are human things. That's what
Yes.
no AI could ever take over.
Right.
That's why it's so important that we as humans recognize that we have these capacities, that we keep seeing who we really are, right? We're more than AI.
Yes.
And
That's
it's just the foundation. That's why I call my training portal openers. Like what you say is like the first level, you could call it. What people already know, they start telling you and they feel safe to share it. And then you can help them give it new meaning or reframe it. But when you start opening a portal to them to a higher awareness, they start seeing parts of themselves they had never seen before. Like suddenly discovering they're really an empath, for instance, or, like I never realized that on myself. I know for the first 20 years or even 25 years of my life, I had no clue. I thought I was just so rational. What do we know, right? But then
Yeah.
one day you suddenly discover, like, oh, there's a whole part of me, like almost like hidden in the cellars, right? And I open this door and there's so much more. And that's like opening up a portal for the people. And then when you do that even deeper, they really get to the essence of what life is about and these divine experiences. And when
That's
you
really interesting.
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. No,
No,
go
no,
ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Okay. So it's just really interesting that you mentioned that because I have noticed that when I discuss spirituality or spiritual experiences that I've had to new people, um, it seems to open something in them and they start to notice
Yeah,
empathic abilities or
yeah,
start to notice spirit more. And I don't, I don't know if it awakens something in them or, they just needed that permission maybe. But I have noticed that with a lot of my friends and
yeah.
even, coworkers that when I start to discuss these
Yeah.
things, they start to experience things. So that's pretty
It's
interesting.
time for you, Jessica, to really own your gift there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah. That's
She's
exciting. I see it
she's
in your
stepping
face.
It
into it
is. It's so
tentatively.
neat that you so neat
She's
neat
still
that
in
you
the
mentioned
closet a
that.
little bit about it, but she's 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 coming
I'm
around.
peeking out. I'm peeking out.
Got that door open now a little bit, a little crack.
Yeah. Yep. Sticking my toe in the water.
Uh, it's
Well,
and
you
it's
will love,
fun.
Jessica, you will love to explore more of that ventral work because then it will feel so much more safe to come
Mhm.
out of it. And it's not like, oh, shall I or not? But it's just, phew, it just flows.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of started happening. I'm much more open um, and not so much worried about what people think and scrutiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm coming around. But it's been a long time coming. It's been probably a good, I don't know, 12 years, something like that, 12,
Oh,
13 years.
yes, at least. Yes.
Hmm.
Because I've
Yeah.
been back in Florida. I came back to Florida in 2014. So that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it
Yeah. Man,
happened.
time flies.
I know. And it happened. Claire, we still remember the day when she finally admitted that she was a medium because I couldn't get her, and I've told this story before, but I couldn't get her off my mind. And I'm like, what is going? I was shopping and I was like, what is going on with Jessica? I've got to call her right now. I can't wait any longer. I've got to call her. And I called her and I'm like, what is going on with you? And she's like, I think I'm a medium. And I just started laughing because I'm like, tell me something I don't know. Like I feel bad. It was pretty funny.
It was.
Yeah.
One of those conversations you remember where you were and what you were
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah, big moments, big moments.
Big
It
moment.
was, yeah.
And what I also love to do, and it's actually closely interwoven, is just helping all these coaches who train with me to actually make money with it.
Yes.
Because there is luckily now a lot of coaches who are making good money, but there is also still a lot who are just, barely struggling to come by, while they actually have the skills. It's just they need, a little something like how can I really, really make the difference? Not just be a good coach, but be like a top 1% coach.
Mhm.
And how do I monetize it?
Right.
And because I worked all those years in high ticket industry, I learned so much about the business strategies on one end, the mindset on the other end,
Mm.
that is a part of it,
Yes.
but also just the alignment. If it isn't really aligned, it's never really going to spark off. So
Yes.
to really be more aligned.
Yes. And I've found in my own journey, and I don't know how it happened with you, Klara, but in my own journey, I would get, and I've like changed my niche over, and finally I'm like, okay, I'm spiritual, so this is just like who I am. So let me just step into this
Yeah,
space because this is who I am, and this is
yeah,
really what I've been put
yeah.
on this planet to do, and I know that. But I would think, oh, I'm going to write this program, and I'm going to do this, and I'd be all excited about it, and I'd sit down to do it, and it would just go bleh. You know, it would just fall flat. I couldn't get it to, and it wasn't that it wasn't a good program. It wasn't that it wasn't good
Yeah, yeah,
content or anything like
yeah,
that. It's just, it wasn't meant for me. And when I finally sat
yeah.
back and said, okay, I'm going to get these beans out of my ears, as my mom used to say,
Uh-huh,
and I'm going to start
uh-huh,
listening and
yeah,
feeling what feels
yeah,
good to my soul.
yeah,
That's when things really started shifting for me.
yeah. Oh, I love that. So important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But as you said
But
about
sometimes
mindset, is
we need to see how to do that. I
yes.
remember when I came to those high ticket coaches who were amazing people, by the way, but they told me, you need a specific outcome.
Mhm.
Just priestess work, that's too vague. And I think they're right in that sense. But what they didn't help me to do was see how the priestess work I did actually led to specific outcomes and what they were. They were just like, tell me what it is, your outcome. And I couldn't connect the dots. So then I kind of made the jump to dating, where I more or less left the whole priestessing. Well, not really, you cannot really leave it, but
Right.
more or less. And I mean, I did make 2.5 million in that industry in 6 years. So I can't say I did bad, right? Not at all. But I always felt like it's something of a struggle and I could do better. Until I made the shift that I spoke about and realized, well, the core of my program is still the priestessing, but I'm hiding it. I'm
Yeah.
kind of almost feeling guilty about it. I should be proud of it,
Yes.
And when that shifted, that's when everything opened up. And I think now what I do now is really, helping coaches feel their gifts of being a portal opener and monetize that. That's much closer to my original priestess work. But nobody could show that to me at the time.
Right.
So finding that offer that works in the market, but also is aligned, is an art in itself.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's very exciting for me to help my clients with it. And one VIP client now, she was so nervous when she started. She hadn't been making, hardly any money in a year, like really less than €1,000 per month. So that was bad. And then she jumped in and she realized she wanted to do the VIP program, which, is a 4-figure per month program. So she was terrified. But now she has a list of only 350 people, but she's consistently doing 5K enrollments, 7K enrollments, 10K enrollments. And, it makes my heart so happy to see that.
That's
And
awesome.
it's because I was really able to help her, many other things, but also this of what for you is really aligned, but is also something you can ask good money for.
Right. Right. And that's just it,
Awesome.
and like actually Steve and I were talking this morning about money and the mindset people have around money, and it is one of the toughest ones. And I know it has
Okay.
been for me. It's something that I have worked on for a long time, and I'm finally, in a better place with it. And I'm still, allowing everything to start coming in, because I really did have a really terrible attitude about money.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I money is an exchange of energy, and it's not, money in itself is not bad. And we have this attitude, a lot of us, about money. People have money and they do these nefarious things with their money, but it's not the money that causes
Yeah.
the person to do the nefarious thing with it. It's the person who chooses.
Yeah.
It's their intention. And we need to stop blaming money. It's an inanimate object, it's just going to lay there if you don't do anything with it. So you get to choose whether you're doing something good or something nefarious with that
Yeah.
money. So what do you think I mean, I know that piece of it's a big hold up for people. What would you say to people who are listening to this right now that recognize in themselves that they may need some mindset work around money?
Well, I find that women have a very good intuition for what they're worth. So if you feel that you're not making the money that you're worth, that's probably true. And then it's time to look at it. Why not? And what can I do about it? And I think one thing, as you say, is, the mindset work, the belief work. Am I worth the money? Will I be okay with how I spend the money?
Right.
But another thing is just understanding what value is. Money is about value. If I offer you value, you're willing to pay me.
Right.
And often what is value to me is not value to my clients. So if I say, when you develop your priestess skills, that's everything. And I believe that, and I would ask the world for it. But not every client would be willing to pay that because they don't see it. But when I help them see, but when you have these priestess skills, you will find your partner, you will grow your business, then it's like, oh, okay, Klara, now you're talking.
Right. Right. And it's
Yeah.
that, it
We
is
have to
that out.
connect the dots. Yeah. So I feel that as women, we have a lot to learn there, not only about allowing ourselves money, but also how does that work? And what are people willing to pay for? And how do I find out who is willing to pay? And how do I trust myself? That's a big thing too, to
Yes.
really offer them the value for it. And that's, again, both just investing in your own skill, but it's also trusting yourself and just going into that position. And then your channels will open up and you will do it.
Yeah. And I know that
Yeah.
Oh, I love
trust thing
talking with you
has,
girls.
pardon me.
I love talking with you girls.
Oh, we love it
Finest
too.
girls.
It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So
No, it
fascinating.
feels like
Yeah.
there's this flow and we're really hitting these essential points. Like
Mhm.
this is so important.
It is.
Yeah.
And
I
the
mean,
Loving
trust
we've
it.
thing
been
is huge.
outside of this whole money thing for so long.
Hmm.
So we're just clueless of how it works. Like if you've never sailed a boat, part of it is allowing yourself, like, I have a right to a boat. But another thing is, yeah, how do I actually sail a boat? How does that work? But when you have both, it's actually on my wish list, buying a big catamaran.
Oh,
Oh,
wow. That's
cool.
awesome. We want a boat too, but we're
Yeah.
going to get a smaller boat just so we can go out and go fishing and things like that. Not a big, huge thing that we're out on all the time, but those catamarans are cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
Very cool.
No, I just admitted it to myself yesterday and posted it on my Facebook because they are, huge and hugely expensive. So I'm also like, no idea how I'm going to do it. But the fun thing is, the moment I posted it on Facebook, ideas started to pop up.
Isn't it
Like
amazing?
one was, yeah, I can put it on my business, of course, and I can hold retreats on the catamaran. And then both for the text, that's much better. And I already have some clients, right? Who would love
Yeah.
to come there. So
Which is
already
so
that
cool.
brings it so much closer. The moment you make the decision, your brain or your system or whatever, the divine starts pumping up ideas.
Yeah. It's
I love
so
it.
beautiful when Jess and I were just talking, like I always say, you can't out creative spirit. When you start
No.
thinking about these things and opening up that channel of possibilities, all of these
Yeah,
things start happening and you're like, I couldn't have thought of that in a million years. Like, where did that even come from?
I feel
It's
it.
so cool.
I
Yeah.
will have to invite you too when I have my catamaran.
That would be
Yeah.
that
Yes.
would be we're planning
You're
to
on the
go to.
East Coast, right? East Coast of US, right?
I am. She's
I'm
Midwest.
in the Midwest.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
you'll have to travel a bit more.
That's okay.
When I cross the Atlantic, because I want to go to French Polynesia, of course, right? It's like the
Oh,
dream.
wow.
So then from Europe, you go kind of to Mexico, South America, that Panama Canal.
Yeah.
So you'll have to
Yep.
come there and I can tour you around.
That is so cool. That would be amazing.
And then we'll record more trainings, right, for all your listeners.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, absolutely. I love sharing all this stuff with everyone. And I recently had a lady, and I love listening to how people have their different perspectives, but she was checking out. I'm actually going to be recording with her to Wednesday for my podcast.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, I don't tell me a little bit about your podcast because it seems like it's a little all over the place, because she went back and looked at some of my videos. And I said, well, I liked for people to see that this doesn't just happen one way for everyone.
Mhm.
We all have our different perspectives. One, I just recently saw a quote on Facebook that said, and I just love this so much, we don't see the same thing, even when we see the same thing you
Yeah.
know so that's why I want people to understand that this happens differently for everyone. Our journeys are, in a lot of ways they're the same, but in a lot of ways they're very different also. So I don't want anyone to ever feel boxed in by it's got to look like this, because it's going to look
Mhm.
very different for each one of us. And
Yeah.
it can still be an amazing and beautiful experience. So I absolutely love this podcast and talking to my different guests and meeting new
Yeah.
people and learning, because I am like ever the student. I love learning. So I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for you
Me
to
too.
teach
Yeah.
us what you have today and
Yeah.
come back again
Well,
sometime,
thank
because
you,
that would
Dee.
be
And I
cool.
think that energy of yours of welcoming everything, that's
Mhm.
probably what makes me open up and what makes everybody open up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
it is so important because I feel there was actually one woman recently, a spiritual business coach. And as I was, becoming more clear, like I want to do the spiritual coaching, I thought maybe I need to work with her. Total misfit. Total misfit. And so aligning with what you say, right? We're both spiritual coaches, but so different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's really like, this is how it is. This is how it works. This is where it works. And I'm always like, oh, we need a place for the unknown. We need a
Yes.
place
Yeah.
for this. And
Yes.
that's just totally different angles.
Mhm.
And when we can allow that, it's beautiful and it's nourishing and and then everybody can find the coach who is right for them.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
true.
And I
And that
feel
is so important. If you think about advice for the listeners, get a coach, get a mentor, because nobody does this on their own, and find somebody who feels really right.
yes.
Mhm.
That's so important. And we were talking about it earlier, like how it just, when you're, or at least me, my personal experience is it like,
Mhm.
it irritates my soul. It's like fingers on a
Mhm.
chalkboard. And literally, I feel it just so when it's not aligned and when there's no energetic alignment there. I can't, like, I just have to get out. Like, I just want to get away from it. You know what I mean? But it's super
Yeah.
important to have a coach who you're aligned with, and friends, and everything, every aspect of your life. That's, to me, that's so important, to look for that feeling. And if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. I mean, back when
Yeah.
we were in school, and it had a different connotation, but I'm going to use it in the spiritual aspect now. There was a saying that was going around school all the time: if it feels good, do it, you know? Well,
Mhm.
and that's how we should be with spirituality, I feel, is if it feels good, do it, because we limit ourselves by all of these
Yeah.
things that we say. I even caught myself, like, I've had to, and I know we have to wrap this up quickly because you have some things to do, but I've had a really hard time previously over accepting
Mhm.
my physical body as spiritual also. So I love playing in the stratosphere, as I put it, and being in my physical body. It, like, literally
Yeah.
pissed me off sometimes, because I'm like, I'm so limited here. Like, damn this physical body. I want to do fun things and not have to be stuck to this earth all the time. But as I was doing, and I've worked on that, and I've come to be more friendly with my body, but I still found myself saying things that were limiting about my physical body. And when I was outside working one day and I was taking a big load of stuff to the back, I just had this epiphany. Well, you are limiting your physical body by always saying
Mhm.
that you are limited. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so true. Holy crap. And it was just like this big
Yeah.
epiphany for me that day.
Yeah.
So,
Light bulb went off.
yep, light bulb went on. And it's just,
And how beautiful that you got it when your body was actually doing something powerful, right? Like
yes,
carrying something heavy. Because the body tells us all these things. Look at me, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. What I love about women, maybe as we're about to complete, is exactly these parts of us that are still unknown.
mhm,
And especially that part of the portal openers. So many women have a gift to open portals for others, but they never thought about it as a gift, as a talent. It's just something that happens. And they never thought about it like it's something I can develop. I can actually help women or people access higher levels of awareness. We all feel kind of, caught in all the shoots and shouldn'ts, and we do breath work and we do plant medicine just to feel a bit of freedom. But you don't need the intensity of that. You can use much gentler things like this gift of women to open portals for each other. And then you, instead of having to vomit with all the plant medicine and stuff, right? It's just like, oh, I can just move here, and boom, 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 the freedom, the spaciousness, it's all there.
yeah.
So I really honor that gift in women. And that's why I'm so passionate about this training, where I help women to really develop that gift and add it to their coaching skills and make more money, have more impact, and thrive.
It is
Yeah.
a beautiful
That's
thing,
awesome.
to the point of
Absolutely.
opening, because I've read something recently about that, about activating people and things like that, and that it's something that we really should be doing within ourselves. So when you mention portal opening for other people, do you feel like that's something that you're actually doing, or you're creating a safe space where they're actually learning that they're doing it inside of themselves?
I think it's not so black and white.
Okay.
I absolutely think that I should not go around like I'm the big portal opener, blah, blah, right? But it's not like that. But I do think, like what you described, right? That you got tears in
Mhm.
being in my presence. Those
Yes.
things happen.
Yes.
And we should not deny them. We should honor them, and we should be more conscious of them and start to understand the full power of it. I have many women around me who feel their Kundalini inner energy really starting to flow. It's not something I consciously do for them. It's just something that happens.
That's what I
Many
was wanting
people
to
are
hear.
around me,
Yeah.
start to feel like, oh, I actually am more than I thought,
Yeah.
right? They just feel it in my presence.
Yeah.
And
And it's
yeah,
true. Like y'all, really. Jess, have you felt it? Like you just want to
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like just keep this conversation. Yeah, like
yeah,
hugs and like
Yeah.
yeah,
all of the
yeah,
things. I mean, nobody needs ayahuasca right here in this situation because all the energy is just whoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
exactly.
it. I love
Excellent.
it.
Yeah. So, Claire, I know we have to wrap this
Well,
up because
thank
you
you
have
so much.
a time
Yes.
commitment, but please tell people where to find you to connect with you so that they can
Yeah.
experience this energy for themselves. And
Yeah.
I know y'all are feeling it in just even in this video, but if you want to connect with Clara, where can they find
Yeah.
you?
Thank you so much. My website, klaraadalena.com. I don't know if you can spell it somewhere. It's a lot of A's in there. Oh, I think it's on here. No, I don't think that shows up in the recording, right? But
It
Klara Adalena.
right. And if you'll send me those links, and I know you will, I'll put them in the description
Okay.
box below the video.
Oh, that
And
would be awesome. Let's do
yes,
that and help everyone because there is this big awakening happening. We all feel it.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
it is something to take action upon and get guidance and really grow. We have so much potential together.
I
yes.
know.
We'll
That's
need-
awesome.
And we don't have
So
to
Thank you
do it
so
exciting.
alone.
much, sister. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, sisters. It was lovely connecting.
Yes.
It
Thank you
was. It was
so much,
awesome.
Clara.
Love to have you again.
Thank you. I look forward to that. From the catamaran.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye,
Bye-bye
Clara.
now.
Thank you so much. Wow. Okay. Well, everyone, I know y'all felt the energy in that episode today. That was incredible. She is an amazing
That
individual.
was.
I'm like goosebumpy all over right now. I feel like I'm gonna cry. So it's just
Yes, I do too. I feel like giddy.
yes,
Just
the energy is
so
just
happy.
so delicious. If y'all want to get in contact with
Yes.
Clara, I am going to drop her information in the description box below the video. Thank you so much for joining us again today on this episode of Spiritually Speaking. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please join us in our Facebook group. The link for that will be also in the description box below the video. And as always, thank you so much, and I love you all.
Bye-bye.